What is up? We are live. What is going on, roomies? I am joined here by Jess CCG.
Hi.
Hey, and hopefully my internet does not go out. I swear to peeps. And this is Just Chatting, where we just chat, you know? We we treat this as a live podcast of sorts, and where y'all get to be a part of it, be part of the conversation. And yeah, but what are we even talking about here? We're doing our top 10. Well, I have 15. She's got 11. Jess has got 11. Top 10 folks who we feel who are within the board gaming industry in some sort of capacity, being content creators, board game designers, publishers, whatever you do, podcasters, and the folks that we feel support other folks within the board gaming industry as well. I first was thinking about this, and I actually didn't tell this to Jess, but I was first thinking about it in terms of like DEI, right? Like, how do we, really have diversity, equity, and inclusivity within this gaming industry? And really what it comes down to is we need to actually support each other. It kind of morphed into this whole other thing that I was doing, as most things do, and I came up with some folks that I think do have some DEI going on for them. I think you'll notice that as I go through my list, because I was pretty thoughtful about that. But also, I broke it up into bigger folks within the industry, and my thought process was, if you're bigger, it was like you have at least 3,000 followers on Twitch, or you have at least 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. Or let's say you're a game designer or something, if you have, or a publisher, if you have at least one game that is in the top 1,000 on BoardGameGeek. That is what I said was, okay, you're a big person within the industry. Everybody else is smaller. So that was my method and madness to all of that. Jess, was sort of your method as you were coming up with your list?
I did based on like name recognition. Okay. So when I mention certain names or certain companies or publishers or whatever, people will go, "Oh yeah, I know who they are," kind of thing. So a lot of these might be on the smaller side.
Okay.
A lot of these might be recognized within the if you're in the know, you're in the know kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And some of these might be brand new to folks. So, so I'm excited to get diving into this. Yeah. Matthew, how did you want to share our list? Do you want to go back and forth, one and one, or would you like one of us to reveal everything on our list and then see if there's any overlap?
Well, so I do have, and I will mention, originally I made this list a while ago. I think like maybe a month or two ago. And I actually asked people too on like Twitter, for some folks that they, thought of, when I asked for this question. I was like, hey, who are some people who like, help out other people? I was actually a little bit surprised by the response. There were some mentions. Most of them were smaller folks. I'll say that. Needless to say, if you are watching on YouTube, please leave comments down below as to who are some people that, maybe we've missed that, you think deserve a shout out. Go for it. Tell us in the comments. And we are doing this on Twitch live. So if you want to be part of this live, you could go ahead and follow us on twitch.tv/room51live. And you could do some stuff. My top 5, I guess, influencers. I'm going to call everybody an influencer, in this. For people who are bigger, according to my standards that I made for myself. I don't know. And they're in no particular order except for my number 1 person. And I will say that each and every one of these people I know either personally or have a connection with somebody within the industry, within that grouping or whatever. And I know that they haven't just helped me, they've helped others as well. But I can get a good gauge because they've helped me as well, and I know how much they've helped me. So again, in no particular order, except for my number one, I'm going to go with Tabletop After Dark. So Tabletop After Dark is it's a marathon streaming palooza of sorts, and there is absolutely no gatekeeping involved. It's like anybody who submits can be part of it, and I think that's really cool. And you'll see a lot of like just smaller Twitch streamers, board game Twitch streamers on there that that are like just making stuff happen, and it's fun and it's cool, and it's you could do whatever you want, right? It doesn't have to be PG or PG-13 or anything. It's after dark, right? So like and not that you necessarily have to like curse and whatever or do like crazy things, but like you can, which is freeing, which is nice. I like that they've built a community there, and I've seen the numbers as I've watched the marathon, and they really like they're up there, you know, for these smaller folks, and I think that's really cool. And I've seen a diversity of people, which is super nice. There's nothing elitist about it. It is just a diverse group of folks, you know, doing their thing, and I believe it's headed by Olympian. Oh god. That's their name, right? Their Twitch handle? Olympian.
Yes.
With an E. So
yes.
That is one of them. I think they're very cool. I love Tabletop After Dark. Another one, so this is a more so of a company. It's Rose Gauntlet. And I made this list, and I made this before I even heard that they were going to come out with other things that I think Jess knows a little bit more about than I do. But Rose Gauntlet is very cool. The big reason I put them on there is because they had the big gay dinner. Every PAX Unplugged. And I love going to the big gay dinner. It is they invite all the LGBTQ plus folks that are within the industry to this huge dinner of sorts, and we're eating, we're talking, we're meeting each other. It's so cool. It's so fun. And again, there's a big diversity there within the community itself. And yeah, it's just so fun and great, and it's nice to be seen and see other people who are like you, where you don't always get to do that. So that's really nice. And then they also had the what's it called? The BIPOC Lounge at Gen Con. I noticed they were heading that. And I don't know if they do that at other conventions. I'm assuming they might, but yeah.
They have one that they did at Origins called Women in Gaming.
Okay, cool.
And they focus on women and female presenting folks in the industry.
Right.
I believe they're trying to, they might be moving it to a different convention next year.
Oh, cool.
I'm not sure, but that's the third event that I know where they wanted to highlight some underserved communities.
Yeah, so Rose Gauntlet is always like they're doing stuff, man. It's great. They're always having these sort of events and getting other people within the industry together to like meet each other and everything. So I love Rose Gauntlet. Next up is Salt and Sass. So that's Mandy and Suzanne for folks who don't know. So Salt and Sass, Mandy and Suzanne, they have been making content for years. I think like a decade at this point, for at least. And they're great. I mean, one, both of them are diverse within themselves. And second, I have seen the support they've given to other folks. Suzanne actually sort of recently tweeted out an email that she had sent to I think it was Tom for Board Game Breakfast on the Dice Tower, just saying like, hey, we need more diversity on these things. Like there's a lot of like white men here, like we need, you know, more of that. And she sent that like 10 years ago, so she's been starting this up from like the beginning, okay, before it was cool to talk about these things. I don't know if it's cool to talk about these things. I think it's cool. But definitely before it was trending, I'd say. So, yeah, I think that they I believe, do a lot behind the scenes to support others, to get more recognition for other people. I have not personally, this is one that I've not personally gained like some sort of like support from them necessarily, but maybe through, just their overall trying to reach overall people, a diverse group of people, and lift them up. So they're really cool. I have gotten to meet them in person, which is nice. They're very kind and nice people. But so Salt and Sass is another one for me. They're fantastic. And they run a podcast together where, definitely check them out. Salt and Sass. Next one on my list is another company, and they're a publishing company. So it is Arcane Wonders. I think that Arcane Wonders, I believe the CEO is Robert Geislinger. And I have consistently seen them support other smaller channels, just by giving them games. I know I've been given tons of games by Arcane Wonders to make content for, which is amazing. It's great. I've also bought a lot of their games, but I've also seen it for other folks. I know Rolling with Rock just did Oktoberfest back in September. So, and Rolling with Rock is another, smaller channel. But they did a whole thing with him, right? Like they were on his stream, they were giving him games to do content with, and first looks at like the new games that are coming out, like Call of Duty, the board game, and things like that. I've seen other smaller channels also just like get games from them, being able to create content on them. I know that they just hired Bree from who used to work at Lucky Duck, now works at Arcane Wonders, which is awesome. Like she needed the job and they gave it to her. Like that was awesome. And I was actually in the middle of that conversation that was happening at a convention. So not that I meant to be, but anyway, I'm sure there was multiple conversations. But anyway, I'm constantly seeing that from them, which is awesome. And I love that. I love that when publishers give games to smaller content creators to also make content. They're not just giving it to like the bigger channels or with stipulations or anything like you have to post in like 2 months or whatever. So it's not like that. They're fantastic. I love Arcane Wonders. I love their games too. There's very little games of theirs that I'm like about. Most of them I really enjoy. So that's Arcane Wonders. They're fantastic. My number one is just a person. But he is very well into the industry. He's retired at this point, but he used to be the CEO of a publishing company, and is now a podcaster. He's content creator, all these things, even though he's retired. He loves to talk. His name is Stephen Buonocore, and I put him number one on the list because he, for me personally, has been amazing. Like, he's legitimately reached out to me to be a mentor to me, to grow in my content, and just as a content creator overall. And he has done an amazing thing. He has like introduced me to folks. So when I say helping folks grow, I don't just mean getting your viewers up and getting your follower count or subscriber count up. It's so much more than that. It's about also like introducing you to people within the industry that you would not have normally been able to see or speak to. So really getting into all that. So he introduces me to so many people, which is amazing. He talks to me about things that I can improve on, but he also says like the things that I'm doing great at. He is the reason I am on the quad for BoardGameGeek, which is a video series on BoardGameGeek. And yeah, he just genuinely loves the work that I do. And I know that it's not just me that he does these things for. He mentors other people as well. I don't know exactly who it is, but I know that he does this for other folks as well. And I see it when I'm with him, right? Like, he's always introducing other people to other people. He's like, oh, have you met this person? You know, he's so fun and kind and nice. So that's why nobody's like, I didn't rank it except for Stephen Buonocore, just because he has personally helped me, like, immensely in my self-esteem, my confidence, and just overall, like, within the industry itself. So that is my top 5. I'm calling them DEI influencers, so because that was what I loved. I mean, that was what my focus was in the first place. So that's what I'm gonna say, my DEI influencers. Yeah, that's my top 5.
Those are awesome.
Yeah.
100%. I support all of those that you said, and some of them were actually overlaps, and some of them I thought about and I was like, oh yeah, that they totally do that. So super glad that you mentioned all of those people. Everyone that you mentioned I knew. That was really great. Yeah. So we got someone in the chat saying that Salt and Sass, specifically Suze, was the one who originally made me aware of the lack of inclusiveness and extreme gatekeeping in board game almost 10 years ago. Yeah. I wanted to mention Suze directly as well, because she has helped me as, like, directly as being another woman of color, and has, like, we've had one-on-one conversations where she was a mentor in that way of, like, what do you want to see, like, where do you see yourself, like, in this industry, what do you want to do, and really allowing me to, like, focus, because it's gonna be work, you know, like, you and I, Matthew, are in some underserved communities, and so it's like being supported in that way of, like, it's gonna be work, but it's gonna be worth it, is huge. So a big shout out from me to Suze, and through her got to meet Mandy, and she's just an absolute delight. And both of them have been, like, advocating things forever. And so, like, I see them as like the people that have been forefronting inclusiveness for a while now in the space.
They're the OGs.
So.
No, yeah, they're fantastic. What were some other overlaps that you had with me? Because I know your list is not.
So
really
I had. Yeah. So I had Rose Gauntlet.
Okay.
Specifically because of the events that they host and the intentionality that they have. I will also mention, because it has been publicly announced, that they just launched the Rose Gauntlet Foundation.
Yes. Yeah.
And the goal is to provide resources for those underserved communities, especially within games. And so having events like the Big Gay Dinner, like the BIPOC Lounge, like the Women in Gaming events, are there to help highlight, but also to provide networking opportunities with folks that identify in similar communities. And it's really, really cool to see that intentionality based on not only what has been come, like, from the few years that these events have been going on, but at the same time, their intentionality and wanting to see it grow. And so, like, launching this organization so that it can be in a broader reach. So, so I'm really excited to see what happens in the future with Rose Gauntlet, because right now, just right out of the gate, I think they've been doing fantastic work.
They have, yeah. They were one of the first people that came to mind when I made that list. So yeah, they're great. I think I made this list before they even announced the foundation stuff. So yeah.
Well, there you go. I mean, that's saying something too, right?
Yeah.
To know that they're already being recognized for stuff just by who they are as a company, which I think is fantastic. So yeah, there's a lot more here, Matthew. So why don't we do like a one-on-one kind of thing?
Let's do it. Forward. We'll have you start off. So now, for me personally, this is going to be my smaller influencers. And I'm saying smaller not because you're small, but because you know what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm going to first and foremost, well, I will mention like companies first, and then I'll go through and like individuals, because I have some as individuals as well.
Okay.
First I will say is Watch It Played,
Nice.
which is a collaboration with Rodney Smith, Chaz Marler, and then Monique and Naveen from Before You Play.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe Paula Deming is often associated with them as well, and Matthew Jude.
Yep.
They, in particular, Rodney has been one that I look up to as someone who has privilege and uses it to lift other folks. And the way I say that is on social media, when things happen, when it comes to diversity and inclusion and people speaking out over various issues, he uses it as a way to voice his support and his like, he does it in such a respectful and kind way that you want to listen to what he has to say, you know. And yes, he is white, hetero, from Canada, like, you know, everything about him, you know, screams like, this is just a straight white dude. But he makes the effort to reach out to those underserved people, and he does it locally from his channel, and as well as bringing other people on board by having Monique and Naveen like a part of the overall group of Watch It Played. I will say that Rodney has also been intentional with me, and knowing that if I have like questions or anything, or I would like him to just guest on my channel, he makes a conscious effort out of his ginormously crazy schedule to be present with me. And that's huge. Yeah. Like, yeah, he's, you know, the Watch It Play channel has been around for over 10 years and has, you know, thousands and thousands of followers. And yet he makes that conscious effort to be present with someone like me. And that's just speaking like miles for me. So for me personally, Watch It Played is definitely on my list of people that support. And I know, Matthew, you have seen that as well with Rodney. Did you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, so I just wanted to say, because you were mentioning him being like just white, this hetero man from Canada, that is part of DEI, I think. You know, DEI is not only for underserved folks. It also includes those who have privilege, and we all have some sort of privileges, even if we have some sort of underprivilegedness. Yeah, so like I said, I made this list a while ago, and it's been more recently that I kind of gotten into contact with Rodney Smith, and I could see just how kind he really is. I mean, I always suspected he was kind. I kind of always think that people are going to be kind, and then sometimes or often am let down. But not by Rodney Smith. He has definitely exceeded expectations. And I know for me personally, he has actually popped in. I didn't even know that he'd watch anything of mine, but he's actually popped into a couple of my videos and commented, and I was like, Rodney Smith just commented on my video, you know, and that is support too, you know, just commenting, you know, but he also helps spread the word about my biggest video at this point. It has the most views, my Everdell video. It's a Mind Over Meta, and I was talking about how it wasn't representing all types of relationships. It only had husband and wife, and well, now it actually has changed where Everdell does not have that anymore, and they've changed it. which is amazing. And they sent me the collector's edition, which is a lot of fun. I need to make a video on that. But Ronnie Smith helped just spread the word on that video, which was amazing. So yeah, I've definitely seen it from him. He didn't make my top 5 list, just because, again, I made this a while ago, and I didn't really get the chance to speak to him or anything all that much before. So, and before I knew all the things that he's done for you, Jess. So there's that too.
Yeah.
My stuff here, let's see. I'm just gonna go down my list. This is seriously in no particular order for, I guess, smaller influencers. I'm going to start off with Phantom Meeple. So Phantom Meeple is part of Adequate 4. We actually just streamed last night. It was me, Jess, Justin, my brother, and Phantom Meeple. So he is amazing. He supports folks to no end. He fights against the tides constantly, and I'm seeing that. And trying to bring people up with him. It's not just about him. And that is important. And if you're part of his Discord, every single time he has like a friend who goes live, the notification goes off on his personal Discord, like, hey, my friend just went live, check them out. Like that is really cool. Not a whole lot of people have that or do that. And I also just want to make a quick mention. Like, I think it's very interesting that I have a top 10 list for smaller influencers, but only a top 5 list for bigger influencers. So I want folks to just keep that in mind. And yes, people are busy. Bigger folks are busy, but you know what? The smaller folks are even busier, probably. Because this isn't just their only thing that they're doing, and yet they're doing it a lot. So anyway, just gonna go off on a small tangent there. But I know Phantom Meeple does a lot. So I just wanted to shout him out. And then also, I'm just going to shout out Baker Meeple too, because Baker Meeple doesn't get enough love, I think, because she's like a lot of times just associated with Phantom Meeple. So I just also want to give a shout out to Baker Meeple, who is also on Phantom Meeple's channel. So they're great. Go watch them, follow them. They're fantastic. And like I said, they want to bring people up with them. It's not just about them.
Agreed. And that's why I have them as a part of my streaming community. And I think that's also why Matthew and I wanted to create Adequate 4.
Yes.
Was because of Phantom and Baker just being overall just wonderful humans.
Yes.
So it is, yeah. So I agree wholeheartedly with that, because yes, the smaller channels are representing other smaller channels, which is fantastic, and those two are no exception to that. So.
Yeah, no, they're fantastic.
So next, and again, this is no particular order or whatever. I put Jason Perez. You might know him as Shelf Stories.
Yes.
And he works, I believe he works in mental health.
He's a therapist, yeah.
And so his videos have been super informative to look at the bigger picture, and especially when it comes to underserved communities. I mean, he did advocacy to change the game Puerto Rico to make it more better representative of the people and the culture. He has always been one of those people where he gives you the facts, and he's like, if you need to know, here's where you go, kind of thing. But I've always found his voice to be very powerful. He is a person of color. And he always wants to bring around the conversation to be a conversation, right? It's not like I'm making this video so you all listen to what I have to say. It's like I'm making this video so that when you hear what I say, it's going to start conversations to help better understanding, so that we can all essentially be better people around the gaming table. So he always brings on lots of different people from all over the board gaming space. He's also brought on some folks in like the video game space to kind of see where the overlaps are as far as like marketing is concerned and crowdfunding is concerned. So yeah, he is just he uses his platform to make people better informed, and I think that is huge. And I'm not sure how large his YouTube channel is, but I'm assuming it's pretty large because he's been doing this for a while. But he'll be right at the forefront. If there's any kind of controversy that's happening within the board gaming space, he'll make sure to make a video about it and be like, look, this is what's happening. This is how I feel about it, but this is what we need to do. Go do your research, kind of thing. So, yeah. Have you watched any of his videos, Matthew?
I have. And he was actually on our podcast back when we had a podcast. Nice dude. I would say when you watch his videos, I think there's a big emphasis on make sure to do your research, because I've noticed that sometimes he will say things to inform, which is great, but it's not always the right information. And I just know that personally because he had spoken about something. It was a group that I'm a part of, and it was just not quite factual, which was okay. His style is fine for a lot of people. His style, if I was someone who has not spoken to him or ever or anything, I'd actually be kind of scared. So I would feel not welcome to make mistakes. And so that's why he didn't show up on my list. But I do think that at the very least, he is bringing up things for people to start thinking about, which is great. And I think that folks need to start thinking about things. But again, and this is honestly with anybody, it's not just Jason Perez, anybody, whatever I say, do your research, right? Make sure that like what I'm saying is correct or not, or, form your own opinions too. I think that's huge. But that's the main reason he didn't actually show up on my list.
Yeah, totally fair. And I think that also comes around to why we make our videos too, right, Matthew? Mm-hmm. Is to have these conversations with people, but for them to actually formulate their own opinions by actually doing some work. You know?
Yeah. No.
Don't just listen to what I'm saying and, take it at face value. Everyone needs to be mindful of things and be wary of what you hear online,
Yeah, for real. The internet, am I right? My next person here is Amanda Panda. She is she's awesome. She's just great. And the biggest thing that she does, I think, that supports smaller channels is literally showing up. Like, she is either lurking in your stream. She's mostly a Twitch streamer. And so she, for smaller streamers, then she is showing up in your stream. Either she's lurking, and for those who might not know, lurking means like you're just you're there even if you're like doing other things, right? So you might mute the site, whatever, that's fine. But like, she's giving you that number, and sometimes she's also commenting in the chat, which is also helpful and very nice. She shows up for people, and that's great. And she's really involved in the Twitch community. She's very involved in the smaller channels community. So that's Amanda Panda. If you have not checked her out, she is awesome. Definitely make sure. She is always having so many different kinds of guests on her stream as well. I've been a guest on her stream, actually. So has she been a guest on mine? Anyway, fantastic person, Amanda Panda. And Oh, she's also always like trying to organize folks to get together at like conventions to have like either a meet and greet or breakfast or whatever it might be. So she works very, very hard. So that's my next person, Amanda Panda.
Yeah, that's awesome. Next person, well, this is actually a company that I will share about, since we were doing kind of like publishers and companies and things, is Weird Giraffe Games.
Oh, yes.
They are kind of a smaller publishing company, but yet you might be familiar with some of their games. They have Wicked and Wise. There was Gift of Tulips, Studies in Sorcery. And I had the privilege of working with them for a time, and Carla Kopp, who is the owner of Weird Giraffe, was always looking for better representation in her staffing as well as in her designs. So there was a few games in her line that were designed, developed, and produced by all women, which is fantastic. She made it intentional to hire diverse people on her staff. So there were people of color, there were people in the LGBTQ plus community, there were people that were neurodivergent, that were people that were on the spectrum. And she made it intentionality of having those people around because she felt that her games could be a reflection of those people. And so having those game designs be play tested and commented on and things, knowing that those people were surrounded in her like inner circle, was huge for her. And I feel that she does a very good job at making games accessible for people, for those as far as like approachable themes, for people with different abilities, people with color vision issues. She made sure that her games could be approachable, and put on your table. So, and yes, she's a smaller publisher, but she has also spoken on several panels.
Awesome.
As a woman herself, she's been kind of like voicing, like, the advocacy for a diverse set of people. And she's even said, I've listened to a podcast that she was a guest on, and she's even said that there were some times where she would go to designer retreats and she would be the only lady in the room. And at first it would be intimidating, and then she basically had to like boost herself up and go, no, there's a reason why I'm here. Like, I also create great games. And she kind of like paved her way for doing stuff. So yeah, I would say Weird Giraffe, definitely check them out. They are their games are super fun. They're approachable. They have some like quirky mechanics on some things. She even developed a 4X game that you can play in an hour.
Cool.
So she's a very, very smart person, and like her like overall goal was to make sure that she had such diversity and things reflected in her games as well as in her staff.
That is awesome. I didn't realize all of that about Weird Giraffe Games, so that's really cool. My next person here is actually Jess CCG. And
what?
Yeah. So if you haven't checked her out, she's not here right now. No, she's here right now with me. And she went away. But yeah, no, Jess has been amazing. I've seen the support, well, that you've done. A lot of it being behind the scenes, and yes, definitely check out Jess CCG on her own channel. You mostly do Twitch, right? You're not really on YouTube.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. No, you can see I have an archive of VODs on YouTube, but it's basically just all of my Twitch streams from the years that I've been doing it. Yeah. So That's me.
Yeah, so I wanted to mention just because, like, for real, she I mean, she comes on here onto my channel all of the time, clearly, and we do this just chatting together. There's a reason I asked her to be part of Adequate 4. Constantly supporting other people, a lot of times from the back end of things, and making sure people are okay. Always popping into other people's streams and channels, either lurking, commenting, whatever it might be, and then also just talking about these topics in general, with me a lot of times, and on her own as well. And the entire reason just made her channel is to keep a community going. CCG. So making connections, making community, making people feel welcome, and just good. So that's my next pick. Jess, CCG.
Thanks, Matthew. Thanks.
Of course.
Next pick I will say is Elizabeth Hargrave. She has done fantastic work in creating like a resource list of people, you always see on social media of like, hey, I want to follow non-binary people. Who do I follow? And she's done really good on her website of creating links for people that identify as women, as non-binary folks. I believe she has a person of color as well. And so she has been really great to just provide that resource list for folks. She's also, being a woman designer, creating one of the largest games as of note recently in Wingspan. So, I also know that she advocates a lot on socials and things,
Yes.
but I feel like she does good about, like, you want to hear more? It's not just me that's doing the work. Here's, other folks. So that's next for me is Elizabeth Hargrave.
That is a fantastic pick. Elizabeth Hargrave is amazing. My next pick is a company. It's a very new company, and they are called Incredible Dream. So they just came out. Their big game is Kinfire Chronicles. The reason I put them on the list is they are very new, but they're very diverse. That's like their intention is to make their games diverse in nature, where the characters are diverse, but then also the people who work there are very diverse. You've got LGBTQ plus people, you've got women, you've got people of color, and all sorts of people. Thank you so much for that subscription. Hello. And yes, wow, that is 23 months. That's crazy. I didn't even know we were doing this for that long. So yeah, Incredible Dreams, I think that they are going to be a force to be reckoned with. So I'm excited to see what they come out with, but I can already tell that they are supporting other minority folks. So that's my next pick, Incredible Dreams Studios. Or I don't know why I said studio.
Nice. Other companies, I know you mentioned that they're ones that want to support smaller channels and are often helping in like being on chat in streams and giving games for like review copies and stuff. So 3 that just came right off the top of my head for me are Pencil First Games,
Awesome.
Thunderworks Games, and Motor City Games. All 3 of these companies have been fantastic for me personally in providing review copies, in being guests on my streams, in being in the chat and actually interacting with the community, and overall just being decent humans.
Yeah.
So I will say definitely check out those companies as well, because they are always they have always been super kind and very like open to like if I had questions about certain campaigns or crowdfundings or anything like that, they're just right on top of it. So again, it's Pencil First Games, Thunderworks Games, and Motor City Gameworks.
And I'll just add on to that because I have one more company on my list, and it is KTBG, where they've come out with power plants, which is fun, and creature comforts, just a bunch of really good games. And then they also are always like supporting smaller channels by giving games to them to create content for their games, which is just awesome. So KTBG as well, for me. And then I'll go into my next person. So it's just a person. So Rolling with Rock, who I actually mentioned a little bit earlier. Definitely check out Rolling with Rock's work. He used to be on YouTube, but now is mostly on Twitch doing streams. He's awesome. He literally created an entire list for folks of like emails and everything for people to be able to reach out to publishers. He's always supporting behind the scenes. He does so much, and he's another person. Like he's another person who's like, you know, white, cis, man, heterosexual, whatever, but he's also always talking about and trying to be thoughtful about like inclusivity, diversity, all that stuff, equity. So he's another person I say definitely check out his channel, and he's just been awesome, an awesome support for folks.
Yeah, that's really cool. I will mention one more, and you lightly touched on this company too, but I will say BoardGameGeek, and hear me out. They have been making a very conscious effort now to bring more diversity to their website.
I agree.
I know that if you go on the homepage, most likely you see Candace Harris on the front interviewing someone.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic. She's a person of color. She's a delight. Or you see something of like the latest episode of The Quad, and there's Matthew, and there's Stephen Buonocore, and there's Candace, and there's some other person that's, you know, representative on there. I think I saw Phantom one time on an episode. Crystal Dax was there on one episode. And then as you scroll through, there's like, you know, the hot list and everything. And then they have like highlighted channels. And there often have been smaller Twitch channels that have been highlighted there, or smaller YouTube channels that have been highlighted. So there has been definitely a conscious effort. I mean, BGG again has been around forever.
Yes.
And it used to be an old man's club. But now I think they're actually listening to people and trying to make a change, which I just have to highlight for that.
No, yeah, absolutely. I love that. I completely agree with you that they've been making strides with that. My next person, she is much more behind the scenes. Her name is Lydia-Rae Wehmeyer. And she is Lydia, she is a force to be reckoned with. Oh my gosh. She has no problem saying her absolute truth to people, whether it doesn't matter. And she is so supportive and trying so hard to make sure that this hobby is inclusive and equitable and diverse. And she's so intentional with what she does. And she's the reason I was able to go to Gen Con this past summer. So if you don't know her, she's awesome. She's also a DEI consultant for Stonemaier Games. And I believe she's actually also trying to go for something within mental health as well. Getting her, so she's got a lot of education behind her. She does a lot of things. But yes, if you don't know Lydia-Rae Wehmeyer, make sure you do, because she is amazing. She is awesome, and more companies need to hire her, get her in on your team. I'm speaking to you, publishers and everybody. She's, amazing.
Yeah. Okay. The next one I have is actually a program that helps out folks to get into the industry, and I believe, it's Board and Dice. It's their ally program, right? Is that what they call it?
I'm pretty sure, their ally program. I think so.
Yeah. So with that, they are Board and Dice is a
publishing.
Gosh, I'm like blanking on words. Their podcast, they Go ahead, Matthew. Sorry.
No, when you said podcast, I thought you're gonna talk about the publishing company, but go ahead. Sorry.
Oh yeah. I mean, overall, yes. They're with their company. And they do. I know that they have a podcast, or maybe I'm mistaking it for someone else. Um, but they have an ally program, which I will just read from directly from the website. Always looking for ways to grow in our commitment towards diversity and inclusion, fostering, inviting a hobby to promote cultural respect and continue our own path towards better understanding, especially as these topics relate to board games that we publish. So, there is a way you can join the allyship where they're like partnering you with mentors and things, helping you create board games, how to work with illustrators, cultural consultants, and like just like a step-by-step guide of like how to be in the industry.
That's cool.
And that right there to me is like, here's a publisher that's actually making a conscious effort to go, hey, how do we help like break that barrier and like bridge that gap for others to be involved.
That is
So
awesome. I thought about that program. It didn't make my list, but yes, I'm glad that you mentioned it. My last person, I'm not going to name their name because I know they don't like to be named. But if you are a Twitch content creator, I've mentioned a lot of streamers, I guess. If you are a content creator on Twitch, you definitely know this person. They have definitely helped you through technology issues or whatever it is that you need. On the back end, they're not necessarily a content creator themselves, but they are a tremendous help to all sorts of streamers. They are always popping up in all kinds of board gaming streamers, channels, and is just like, they're very snarky sometimes and can be very sarcastic, but it's all in good fun. And they have helped, I know, Room 51 tremendously, just on the back end of things, by being in the chat almost all of the time, or lurking, helping out with technology issues that we are constantly having. And I'm sure that if you are a streamer, you know exactly who I'm talking about, but I'm not going to name their name, just because they're not, they don't want to be named usually. So I'm going to respect that. But I just wanted to give this person a shout out. So if you become a streamer or anything for board gaming, you'll get to know this person, I'm sure, and you'll find out who they are. So just know that they're going to be there to support you.
So yes, sorry, and I'm going to like add a little appendix to my last thing. Board and Dice is a publishing company. I was confusing it with another podcast that has a similar name, but it's not. So yes, Board and Dice is a publishing company, and they have done fantastic to create this ally program to help people out in the gaming space. So yes, and I will just mention this as my final one, because we're running out of time here. It is actually a convention, and it is a convention in the Washington area called Orca Con, and they are super aware of creating diversity in their gaming spaces, but also in how they conduct the actual convention itself. So at the sign up table, there are badges where pick up your name badge or whatever, but there's also little badge flags that you can add to your badge that gives your pronouns. You can fill in what your pronouns are. If you don't have any pronouns, what you prefer to be called. Also, it has, which is I call it the streetlight system. I call it the streetlight system, where it's like, yes, you can talk to me. Please ask first, or not right now, kind of thing, because a lot of people feel intimidated when it comes to big crowds and being in convention spaces. So not everyone will want to like engage right away. So there are different colors that you can wear on your badge to indicate how you want to be approached and things like that. When it came to cosplay, there were also other ways that you can indicate whether or not you wanted your photo taken, and codes of conduct and things. And they were very, very intentional in making that a space. They have designated quiet spaces. They made sure that their staff was well informed and very diverse. And there's a um, zero tolerance policy when it comes to discrimination or any sort of discrepancies within how people play with one another. And the person that organizes it is a part of the LGBT community. And I feel like they also are wonderful at making sure people feel seen.
Awesome.
So yeah, it is a fantastic convention. It's smaller than, like Gen Con or PAX or anything like that, but they really, really strive to make people aware, and also cultural recognition too, because a lot of spaces here in the United States were on indigenous lands, and so they also make that cultural awareness as well. So when we are in the space, to have that recognition and to be respectful to those tribes and peoples of the area. So yeah,
Wow.
so that's my last one.
I gotta go to that convention. And I'm just gonna do a quick little shout out to somebody who really should have been on my list. And I don't know why I didn't put them on the list, but it is Dutch Yoda. Dutch Yoda is another person, another streamer that you should definitely check out. Yeah, he might have actually showed up as somebody who's subscribed. He's always subscribing to us, so which is very nice. But he's also somebody who is constantly in other people's channels, watching, commenting, all these things, and he works a lot with TLN to make the website, make sure everybody is seen there. He does a lot. He doesn't sleep. He really needs to, though. So Dutch Yoda, honorable mention there. Check his stuff out for sure.
Yeah, and I will say Dutch has personally supported my channel and the efforts that I'm doing. And so, yeah, he doesn't sleep. And I can see why, because he's always supporting everyone else.
For real, he really is. So tell us here live, and again, for those who are watching this recorded on YouTube, leave it down below in the comments. Like, who did we miss? Who are some other people? Who do you agree with? Who did you disagree with? I don't know. Let us know. And
comments are open, friends.
They're open. Make sure to, hit all the buttons, subscriptions and likes, dislikes. Well, hopefully you don't dislike it, but yeah. Comment. So these are just the people that we knew and that we could scrunch into about an hour.
And I do have one more. I do have one more before we sign off.
Do it.
It's a Twitch channel, but also has YouTube presence. They have been doing stuff for, I think, like 3 or 4 years now. Their channel name is quite unique. You have to be a kid of the 90s to understand what their channel name means. But it is the Siblings Macaque from Room 51.
I was like, you have to know their 90s. I was like, what? I was like, who are these people?
I will say, if you've watched anything from Matthew of like Teach to Teach, The Mind Over Meta, the fact that he was a part of the Dice Tower, and has done so many things within the matter of just a few years is like fantastic. And the fact that also you have basically shown your life journey and like mental health journey, like for the internet to see, that's huge. And I think that's a support for a lot of people in more ways than one, for being not only like a person in the LGBTQ plus community, but as a board gamer, and to see how those two communities can like intersect and align is something that is very commendable. So I wanted to give you and Justin a shout out and and Eileen and Sabrina and Catherine and all the roomies.
Yes.
But yes, I just felt that it was only necessary, since you gave me kudos, to give the kudos back.
Yeah, well, thank you, Jess. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I will say again, like, I was planning to record this. I wasn't doing it like oh, I'm gonna be speaking with Jess, so I have to like put her on. I honestly, it was just, I thought of you. So, but thank you. That is very kind. And so, but yes, thank you, Jess. That is very kind. And yeah, speaking of which, we'll have more stuff coming up about my journey. So there's some sneak previews coming up. It's gonna be fun, because I'm coming up on soon my 2-year mark of post-op top surgery. So I wanted to make a video about that. But anyway, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you, Jess, for giving some stuff and giving me some kudos. That's nice. And thank you to the chat for being here. And yeah, thank you to the viewers on YouTube who are going to watch this. Y'all are awesome. Have a good one, everybody. Bye.
Bye.